Piercing is the new film from the director of The Eyes of My Mother, which I was a pretty big fan of when it came out. It was an experimental, black and white, independent, artistic flick, and I enjoyed it. And so when I saw that he was doing this, I was looking forward to it, and I got to check it out tonight. It is currently streaming on most of the platforms. I paid $6 for it. And it stars Mia Wasikowska. I don't know how to say her last fucking name. The girl who played Alice in the Alice in Wonderland movies, Tim Burton. And I saw some of the trailer. It made it look American Psycho-esque. And I showed it to somebody else who ended up watching this with me. And like 20 minutes in, 30 minutes in, she's like, trailers are fucking bullshit. Like, this is nothing like the trailer. And I can't really comment to that because I don't really remember the trailer. I saw it like a month ago and a couple months ago, and I only watched like 20, 30 seconds of it. That's about as much as I can usually give, but that's one take on at least the tone of it if you've seen the trailer from somebody else who just watched the trailer tonight. As far as the film goes, this is much more style over substance. And one thing that I really, really liked about this movie was the use of the music in it. And this was something I was not expecting at all because I went into this blind. And there is some Italian cinema giallo songs in here used as the score in the film. Most notably for me is Profondo Rosso by Goblin. I was like stunned when I heard the song. I've never heard that anywhere else. And so I was like, it was jarring because I was like, what the fuck am I watching right now? This is weird, you know? But of course it immediately brings me. Now that might just be because of how much I love that song and the movie that it's played in. And so when I'm hearing that song in a movie and it kind of already brings up a love for something in my head. So of course I'm going to probably like that scene more than maybe I would have if a different song was playing. But this is a very trippy, bizarre film. The plot line is fairly simple. I mean, if you've seen the trailer, you know, but I'll give you a brief description. This is the opening sequence. So if you want to avoid all spoilers altogether, I would say that I liked it, but it's one of those films where it's like, I feel like I need to marinate on it for a while, or maybe watch it again eventually, or talk about it with a few people. But for now, I liked it, but I definitely think this is a film that majority of people are gonna hate or really dislike. And one of the big reasons that is because the ending is one of those endings that when you're in a theater, it ends and like 10 people in the theater go, are you fucking kidding me? That's it? Like, it's that ending that just kind of leaves off. And you're like, wait, what? That's it? There's no more? You know, and I know that there's going to be people who just don't see the artistic expression of that and that they're not going to understand. And I'm still, it's not super complex. It's not overly convoluted or anything. I think it just gets so trippy that you kind of get lost in the mix of it, where you're just like, okay, what's real and what's not, and what's happening between this character and this character, and it's kind of just left open for your, imagination of what's going to happen next, and how that all applies and plays out. So it's a different film, and I think that, as I said, if you watch the trailer, it makes it seem like it's the serial killer. I didn't even get into the plot because I was trying to give my thoughts on it before I got into that in case anyone wanted to avoid some spoilers. But the plot, as I said, this is in the opening seconds of the movie, so I mean, it is kind of spoilery, but this guy has like a fucking ice pick to his baby's head, and he's thinking about killing his fucking family, and I guess he decides to go and kill someone else instead. And he decides he's going to kill this hooker, and he tries to plan it out the best he can. And of course, things don't always go as planned. But this movie goes in no directions you think it's going to go. And that's what I really like about the film. As soon as you get some expectations of what's going to happen, total subversion of those expectations and goes in completely different directions. And that I enjoy. But you're going to be, you're going to be questioning what you're seeing because this person is mentally ill. And for good reason, because in the film it very much makes you question these things. Stylistically, it's very cool. The shots of the buildings outside are all like models or something along those lines. They're not real structures. And it gives the film a very fantasy-like quality that plays into the tone of the film. So I did like that. There is a lot of art being displayed here. So I think for fans of art house cinema that get this kind of weird, challenging type film, then you might want to check this out. This is definitely that kind of film. But for people who just kind of like a normal, straight-laced, straightforward narrative, this is gonna piss them off like crazy. I know the person I watched it with was like not a fan, She was very much like, no. She even like 20, 30 minutes in wanted to shut it off. So, and she kind of, for me, she's a good person to watch stuff with because for me, she's the general public. And I don't mean that as a negative. I just mean that as I'm somebody who's open to pretty much everything. So I don't have a great gauge to talk to the masses. She seems to share the general opinion of most films that I've noticed. So maybe she should fucking run this channel. But I do think there are going to be plenty of people. I saw a guy who said this was his favorite film of the year so far. So it will have its fans. It's just there's going to be few and far between. This will be a film that is mostly panned. But the people who get it, I think they're really going to like it a lot. I'm going to continue to keep thinking about it. I do feel like I wish there was more to it, though. This is essentially two characters interacting with each other in a closed space for almost the entire film. You got a lot of cool artistic shots, great use of music, although as I've already kind of stated, I guess I'm a sucker for that because I already have an attachment to that very specific couple pieces of music that they use from other Italian cinema films. This isn't Italian cinema, this is in English. But I did like a lot of the style shots and whatnot. But yeah, I'll be curious once this hits a Netflix or something or comes down in price and more people are seeing it. I will be very curious on what the consensus is on this one. But for now, I'm kind of stuck somewhere in the middle, maybe leaning a little more towards like, but understand the dislike because, as I said, I was left wanting a little more substance, a little more something. There were scenes that were set up that I felt like could have went somewhere, and I felt ultimately they didn't. But then there was other stuff that was so shocking in the moment because I wasn't expecting, because I expected something completely different. It was going in a direction, and I was like, oh, it's just going to go this way. And it's just like, it jolts you, and you're like, oh, and I like that kind of stuff. I like when it challenges you and makes you, uncomfortable with, what you expect to happen next. When you start to think you know what's happening and those things are met, it becomes kind of boring and trite. And then when you do think something's going and you're just dead set and then boom, it just takes us left. It's fun. It's fun for me. Some people hate that, but I dig it. And this film does it a couple times. And that's ultimately what wins me over in addition to the style. But fuck, man. Tough one to recommend. But I think you'll know who you are if you listen. So let me know what you guys think if you check this out, as always. And I have The Man Who Killed Hitler and then the Bigfoot lined up upstairs, so I'm gonna go get to that. Adios.